welcome to TradersPost office hours for June 17th, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Tom Hartman, marketing manager here at TradersPost, alongside Mike Christensen, co-founder and CSO, and John Wage, founder and CEO. We're always working to make TradersPost the best day in and day out. Each week, we take a deep dive into all things TradersPost, answering your questions, gathering your feedback, and helping you get the best out of the soon-to-be only automated trading platform in the multiverse. We're also very happy to discuss all things automated trading and trading in general, because it's always nice to congregate with like-minded fellows. We don't just listen to the news, we trade it. Folks, happy Father's Day to all, and to all a good night, or however the saying goes. Hope you guys had a great Father's Day weekend.
Restful? Not bad at all. Not bad at all. How about you, Tom?
As every Father's Day, I regret having children, how much time they take. They seem to want to make sure that I have a very great day, and they don't seem to understand that them being away is the best way to that path. But maybe AI will be able to
you love the hell out of your kids. That's what I'm hearing.
I do. But even Father's Day, I'm like, let me just give me the charts that day. All right, I don't want to hear anything. Can I just pretend you don't exist for one day? That'd be great. Before we start, well, we're starting, but before we really get into the questions and feedback and stuff, I just want to point out, not pointing fingers, just want to point out that Google Cloud Platform went down a few days ago, right? So
it did indeed.
For the very few people who thought, hey, if you were just on another system, or if you just had this, you just had that, there wouldn't be any problems whatsoever. Google Cloud went down. All right. So, and we didn't. We were up. That was fantastic. I love that. So I just wanted to bring that up as a reminder to people that, one, we're always doing everything that we can to make sure that we're up all the time, as we were with Google Cloud being down. Just making sure I mentioned that. Make sure that's clear that we were up all that was down. But that it's on you. It's on all of us to make sure that when you're running an automated trading strategy, the idea is not to set and forget it. It's not a George Foreman grill. You got to be in there. You got to be paying attention. You're taking the hands off the wheel when it comes to specifically sending your trade signals the way that you did before, but it's still on you in order to pay attention to make sure that your whole amazing system with TradersPost at the center is properly set up. Just making sure not only that everyone watching knows that, but the AI knows that as well. That's what we're here for. We're here to feed the AI.
It's like Tesla's full self-driving. You still got to be at the wheel, making sure you're paying attention to things, right?
That's right. And when I hear these stories of the car that speeds off suddenly on the highway or hits into the wall, I go, look, that's the price for automation. Some of us are going to go into the wall. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. I can understand that. I'm sure that's what Mike was saying, and he agrees wholeheartedly.
That was my exact thought. Thank you very much, Tom.
All right, guys, let's jump in. What's fun is that AI is doing such a great job answering a bunch of the questions that come to us week by week. That is funny. There are more praises to the AI than there are to the human beings answering questions, which I find troublesome, but exciting. It's pretty fun. But because of that, we have a nice small crop of questions this week. A lot of them have to do with prop firms and stuff like that. But before we start that, I figured it might be nice to take a look at the features request board, just to see what we've had over the last week or so. There are two that came in. The first one here is account value versus investment power. This is from Clay. I run a Robinhood cash account. Trades take about a day to clear. The strategy I have set up is supposed to use 75% of current holdings, but I need the ability for TradersPost to use the available cash balance versus using the total account value when calculating trade size. I see that TradersPost can already view the available cash balance. Can you please create a setting for it to use the available cash balance versus total account value when determining the trade size?
I guess this lines up with our thoughts around using the remainder rather than the exact cash amount based on the calculation.
Right. Seems like, does this person want to use the remainder, or?
Yeah, I think so. The cash balance as opposed to the account value.
I see. Okay.
And the remainder in this case is the amount that's actually available in the account while the funds are being settled from another trade.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We've had a few people mention that sporadically over the TradersPost time, but nice to have Clay who posted that for all of us to go vote on. The second one is this one from Spike. Defaults on strategies. I would like to save my strategy settings as a default. I use the same type of orders, assets, auto submit, etc. Having the option to save my settings as default would save me time and help with errors. I make errors. I try my best, but I make them.
I think this one
Thank you very
already
much.
exists, but there might be a UX improvement that we can make. But if you go to the subscription defaults for the strategy and check the checkbox at the top, then anytime you create a subscription for that strategy, it will inherit the settings from the strategy. If I'm understanding what he's saying correctly.
Well, he's saying that when he creates the strategy here, that he wants these to be defaulted. That's what I assume he meant.
Oh, I see. So like maybe it's like cloning a strategy probably or something would
Correct.
solve his issue.
Yeah, cloning strategy seemed like the more elegant option because then you have more flexibility.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, we'll take both of these into account. We've got the remainder of cash balance on the roadmap. We think we've made a ticket for that before, and then we'll give some thought to this one as well.
All right, just a reminder, everyone, if you have any feature requests that you'd like to have, you can always head over to
is it features.traderspost.io?
Feedback.traderspost.io.
This is relatively new. Sorry, guys.
And it's linked in the footer of the website as well.
Yep.
Right. And if you wanted to go over there to vote on any of them or to add your 2 cents, to add some clarity or some nuance, please feel free to do so. We want to hear from you. We set this up because we want to hear from you. And as you've seen over their history, we love implementing your feedback into the product. All right, let's move off to our first question. Question comes here. And it's asked, will TradersPost alerts work with Tradovate Group Trade? Now, I've never used the Tradovate Group Trade feature. But from what I understand, if that part does not, the grouping does is not affected by TradersPost, as long as a trade is sent to Tradovate and activates one of the elements within this group, is the idea is that, would that be copied across? Have you guys come across this? Have you guys used any of these features?
I haven't had a chance to test this yet, but I believe in theory it should work. Essentially, you choose one Tradovate account to connect to TradersPost, and then that Tradovate account is then combined with a group of other Tradovate accounts, and it should copy out to the other accounts, but I'm not entirely sure.
I've never looked at Tradovate, this group feature. But I was just looking at the documentation page, and it is pretty limited. You can't do any of the OCO or ATM functionality. So like if you have TradersPost send one order with an OCO, like with a take profit and stop loss, it won't be able to copy it. I'm not sure what the behavior would be. It probably just error when it tries to copy it. But a way that would work is if you connected all of those accounts to TradersPost and then have TradersPost send the order to all of the accounts instead of sending it to one Tradovate account and then having Tradovate copy it.
Got it. Okay.
So I think the answer is yes, with limitations.
Right. Next up. When I have multiple accounts with Project X that are connected via copy trading, and I send an order to the lead account using TradersPost, does the trade then get copied to the other accounts that are following the lead account?
This is a good question because I think it falls in line with maybe a misconception on how TradersPost works relative to other services that are out there. It doesn't work from a lead account, copy account perspective. We try to use the term account scaling here or multi-account execution here because it is a little bit different of a process. Essentially, what you're doing is you're sending a signal to TradersPost for one strategy that you subscribe multiple brokers or connections to. In this case, you would subscribe multiple Project X accounts to that same strategy. And when you send the signal through, we execute that trade concurrently across all those accounts. So even if let's say you had what you thought was the leader account in the strategy, if you failed that eval and then sent the signal in, it would still trade all the other accounts because we're trading everything at the same time.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Okay, next up here. Hello, TradersPost support team. I'm currently using TradingView for my strategy signals, and I'm very interested in using TradersPost to fully automate my trades with TradeStation. Please do. Come on over. The water's warm. Before I proceed, I need to confirm if your platform can support my strategy-specific order logic, which involves OCO entries and trailing stops. Now, I'll just preface this by saying, folks, that we did answer this question last week or the week before, but I like the way that this person phrased it, and I think this will show up in searches more. My strategy works as follows. When my signal appears on TradingView, I need to place 2 pending orders, a buy stop above price X and a sell stop below price Y. These 2 entry orders must be linked as OCO, one cancels other. So if the price hits the buy stop, the sell stop order is instantly canceled and vice versa. The position that gets filled needs to be managed with a predefined bracket order, which includes a take profit target and, most importantly, a trailing stop. My main questions are, can your system process a webhook that creates these linked OCO entry orders? How would I attach a trailing stop and a take profit to whichever entry is ultimately executed? And is there a specific syntax or command set I would need to use in my TradingView or alert message to accomplish this? Any guidance or links or documentation on this topic would be greatly appreciated. This functionality is a deciding factor for me. Thank you for your help.
So it's not something that any of the brokers that we integrate with support. All of the brokers, like typically the entry and the OCOs are like for an entry and an exit. So like the legs attached to the entry are on the opposite side of the entry order. So I think the answer is no, we don't support like multiple entries linked as OCO, but I don't think that's a limitation of TradersPost. That's a limitation of the brokers. There might be some brokers that support like tying orders like that together, but based on my experience doing all the integrations with the brokers, they're all structured in a similar way where you have bracket orders, but the legs of the bracket order are always on the opposite side of the entry order that it's attached to. So if you're entering long with a buy, then the legs in the bracket part would be a sell. And then the reverse is true if you're shorting.
Yeah, and what the conversation eventually led to with the user is more like there's a bunch of the stuff that you want to be you can take care of on the signal generation side. So you just send it to us the final order, and what you might lack in like time of execution, you gain in the ability to have more complex orders and more complex conditions for your orders.
So you could do that on the strategy side, right? Like I think you could code all that, and then there would not be these orders in the broker. It would all be simulated in the on the TradingView side. And I think that should work.
That's right. Yeah, that's what the person eventually ended up doing.
Got it. Yeah, that's what I find myself doing as well. If there's trickier and trickier ways in which you want to manage positions, it's probably best to put it on the signal side or the TradingView side, because then you can manage all kinds of tricky scenarios that won't get executed or won't be available as an execution type with the broker.
I think it's better from a back test perspective too, because you want your back test to be exactly the same way your forward testing is. Yep. And the more rules you put on the TradersPost side or the broker side, then you're basically executing a different strategy than your back testing.
That's right. All right. Next up, this person says, I'm getting an error. This strategy was rate limited 6 hours ago after exceeding the allowable number of webhook requests in a short period of time. If you exceed the rate limits more than once in a day, your strategy will be disabled automatically. So, John, I think you were the one talking with this user a couple of weeks ago. I thought the conversation was pretty interesting because they were explained, you have this rate limiting feature. They were setting like just 100+ orders within 1 minute. And the idea is that we want to protect our system to make sure that everyone's safe, orders are reliable. And so we explained to them like they could not do this. And so they responded back with, so I'm looking to split up the signals. Would I be able to open up multiple accounts and multiple strategies to be able to do the increased limit? And I wanted you to comment on this idea here that even as they were offering to pay extra in order to have some sort of extended plan that would allow them to do this, you were saying something to the effect of that it would be a detriment to allow that sort of thing to everyone else on the platform. Would you mind expounding on that?
Yeah, I mean, the rate limits are intended to be like per user, and we enforce them at the webhook level, but opening up multiple accounts and like spreading hundreds of signals so you can execute them all in the same second would have the same effect on the stability of the system. And in addition to that, broker rate limits as well. Like this particular user, I've talked to him on the phone about it. Like his broker rate limits his API calls as well. So splitting it up would actually like exacerbate the problem, because now you would be basically sending even more API calls to the broker, and the rate limits are at your broker account level. It doesn't matter if you split it up. But we put those rate limits there to protect the health of the system so that everyone has kind of like fair usage, and no one single user can overwhelm the system with signals. We're set up to be able to handle large spikes of webhooks, but there are limits to that, and we scale based on like how many customers we have and what the rate limits are that we enforce. So like you could create multiple TradersPost accounts and kind of like work around those rate limits, but that would be against our kind of fair usage or acceptable usage in our terms of service.
Fair enough. To be fair, it's the only person I've seen so far try to like make that pitch. And frankly, I thought it was very noble of him to say, I'll pay you more for the privilege of having increased rate limits. All right, next up, can you add an option to archive a strategy or subscription so that it's less cluttering in my list? I don't want to delete it in case I want to access it again.
Yeah, I think that might be nice. I think also like eventually it might maybe get rid of the hard deleting, and like deleting actually archives it.
Or disables and then archives it, maybe.
Yeah, something
because
like
we
that.
still want to reject the webhooks.
Yeah, like
But
deleting.
I like that idea. Eventually, I think we should have a way to kind of like tag or place strategies into folders so you can, sort of quickly organize them in a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason why we internally have kind of wanted to get rid of deleting is because like customers will reach out to us and tell us to look at something, and then they delete it before we can look at it. And it's useful to have all those logs. Like we do have potentially might have some requirements in the future to like retain data for a certain period of time. In cases where like customers dispute a credit card or something, like a credit card charge, if they delete all the data, we don't really have anything to kind of counter their dispute. Right. But we might have a delete function, but it just hides it essentially, but the data is still there in the database.
Alrighty. Next up was an error that someone was getting. Do we have that screenshot here? No. Okay. So basically, the user was getting an error from the subscription page where they were saying that a ticker for a particular futures contract is not supported by Project X. And they were asking, they were saying, well, a previous contract was working. Why is the new one not working? And I wasn't able to, the conversation didn't actually continue. So I wasn't actually sure what was going on there. Is there a situation where the broker doesn't have?
This was related to the downtime yesterday with Project X.
Oh, I see. Right.
Because their API was down, and we have a process that syncs our ticker database with theirs. So MNQU 2025 is the next contract, but it rolled over to that contract early, even though MNQM is still technically the current contract from like an expiration date perspective. But because the API was down, that process to synchronize our ticker database with their ticker database wasn't able to run. So our system didn't have MNQU in the database. And that's why that happened. But as soon as their API came back up, we manually triggered that nightly process that syncs things. And then MNQU is available. So that was only a temporary issue with the Project X API.
Got it. Okay, cool.
I guess
all right, well, we have
one other thing to mention about that is weird about Project X. They only give you one contract, and you can't trade like 4 contracts ahead like you can with Tradovate or TradeStation. I don't know if they're going to change that or improve that, but it has caused a little bit of a confusion. So like, I don't know if many traders are doing that, like trading not the next contract, but like the
you can only trade the front month contract with prop firms. And the reason why is because they don't want you trading month 1 and month 2 and trying to profit from a spread. There's no spread trading or roll yield that you're able to gain for the accounts. So the only thing you can trade is the front month contracts on all of the symbols they support.
On Tradovate, what happens if you submit an order for a prop firm Tradovate account and it would
get rejected for that symbol?
Okay. Because Tradovate makes all those contracts available, so they show up. But if it's a prop firm Tradovate account, then it would reject it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we have a couple of questions left, but before we get to those, just a quick word from our sponsor.
Ask yourself this: are you making trading harder than it needs to be? If you're trading manually or still coding just to connect to your broker, yeah, it's time to upgrade. TradersPost lets you automate trades using signals from tools like TradingView or TrendSpider or even your own custom setup. It works with brokers like TradeStation, Tradovate, Coinbase, and a bunch more. I've been using it myself, and getting started was smooth. The platform's clean, setup's quick, and once it's running, it just works. And when you're ready to scale, adding more strategies, plugging into prop firm accounts, or juggling multiple portfolios, TradersPost handles it. It's built to grow with you. Start your free trial at TradersPost.io. Trade smarter, automate your edge.
And we're back. TradersPost. TradersPost. You know, when I first heard the name TradersPost, I was bemused and confused by what the term meant. And now I can't live without the term. Now every day I hear it, I feel good about myself.
Well, I'm curious, what do you think of when you hear the word TradersPost or the name TradersPost? Like,
I initially thought it meant that traders do a post request.
I mean, it's basically what it was. It was a combination of that, like the technical word post for webhooks, but then also the concept of like a local shop. You know, TradersPost is where like people go to buy and sell stuff. You know, local communities, local towns will have like a TradersPost, and it's where you go to, like, if you have, hey, you need to buy corn or you want to sell something, you'd go take it to the TradersPost, and that's where you do business for that local small town.
So that's what I think about it now, except it's not as quaint. I think of it as the haberdashery in The Hateful Eight, Quentin Tarantino's movie, with all the 8 criminals who meet up in the snowstorm in this haberdashery, and they have to duke it out. Because that's how I feel as a trader, that I'm against all other traders, and there could only be one survivor, and we all die at the end. But it's still very warm and cozy and fun and interesting, and with highs and lows. So it's fun for me.
I'd always think it's where the traders go to post up. That's another thing that I had in my head, is people use the word post to, like, you're like hanging out somewhere, you're posted up there. And TradersPost is like, it's where the traders go to post up and hang out and make money.
Okay. Now we're showing our age. It's very nice.
Is that is that old? I guess post up, is that like early 2000s?
Yeah, it's ready to go chill, you know?
According to Google Trends, it hasn't been used for the entire duration since 2000. So yeah. Let's see, post up.
All right, next question we have here. I skipped one. This was an interesting one. First said, let's say I want to repeat all the trades I did this Friday, every Friday from now on. Can I set something like that up on TradersPost? Now, Obviously, no, there's no setting in our system to do that. But I wanted to run that by you guys to see if you had ever heard of anything like that, and why anyone might want to do that.
What do you mean all the trades you did this Friday, every Friday from now on? Do you mean at the execution time? Because obviously you wouldn't be able to execute at the same price. The price is presumably completely different on the next Friday. So it's a little confusing as to what you mean by which trades. If you could repeat your best trades from every Friday, that would be fantastic. We'd all be billionaires. So, yeah.
That's what it looked like. The person was actually talking about that. What they really wanted was to have this system where they could like target trades that went very well and then have those run again at a certain frequency. I just thought that idea was so, I'm going to say it, adorable. It feels adorable.
I like the idea. I have seen systems like this where you take your best trades and you take a snapshot of what the chart looked like at that time, and it creates a pattern analysis from that particular trade. And you use AI in order to effectively try to reinforce the idea that if you see this pattern on any upcoming period of the chart, then trade that way again. But in all likelihood, it's never going to show up at exactly the same time on the same day each week. Patterns show up at any time, at any point. It could be during the electronic hours. It could be overnight. It could be 6 o'clock in the morning. Who knows when that pattern is going to show up again.
Right. Actually, that's pretty cool. Well, the idea that our system, it would have to be so complicated and sophisticated in order to map the type of condition that this person would want to have. It's hard enough to get a calendar event at the frequency that you wanted. I can't imagine have a set of trades that have to match.
Yeah.
I'd want to understand what this person is actually envisioning. Like he described it that way, that sentence, but like what actually does he mean?
They abandoned the conversation afterwards, so I couldn't. I was like, that looks
kind of curious.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I think here our last question. Oh no. When I use TradingView through Tradovate, which is connected to my TopStep account. So my trades are executed in TradingView, and I leverage the integration between Tradovate and TopStep that is already built in. So this is all within the TradingView ecosystem. To automate my trades, I need to use alerts, and so I try to send my alert message to an account I created on TradersPost using the Webhook URL. I have now confirmed that the receipt and formatted this income and JSON message on TradersPost, but I don't know how to now send it to my TradingView so that the trade is exited automatically. Can you guide me on this regard? So this is a misconception for this user of how TradersPost works. They want TradersPost to send a signal to TradingView in order to execute a trade at one of the connected brokers. So just so you know, just to make it clear on two fronts. One, TradingView does not allow that. You cannot receive a signal within TradingView, much less have it execute anything at a connected broker. You can't even do that on PineScript on their platform. So that doesn't exist now. It doesn't look like it exists in the future. The other part of it, though, this idea of, and we had touched on this previously, of because the conversation with the user had gone on with like, hey, what if I wanted to send the signal out somewhere else? Like, how could I just set up a URL where it forwards some sort of signal on afterwards, after it goes through, I don't know, some sort of filtering mechanism at TradersPost? And that's something that I know we've talked about a few times. You know, whether it's going to Slack or Twitter or Telegram or Discord or whatever it is, or some sort of a URL that the person or Zapier. I remember, Mike, you talked a lot about that. Zapier, Integromat, that sort of thing. That might be cool. So that's one way that they can.
That's one way that they can sort of work around it, is by sending it to Zapier first, and then Zapier will send it to all the final destinations. But I probably wouldn't recommend it because it's another like point of failure in between TradingView and TradersPost, and I don't know how, like, I don't know what the like SLA or like the expectations are on how fast Zapier will relay it to TradersPost. So it may add a small amount of delay to it, but you know, worst case, it could add several seconds of delay, or not send it at all in some cases.
Right. All right. And our last tiny question is, when crypto prop trading? If you guys want a particular prop firm, you got to let us know. Let us know particular prop firms. We're not sitting around, hunting for your favorite crypto prop firm if you don't let us know about it. So you can always go into, you could always send us a message in support, and you could always go into they can't enter their own prop firms if they want to like have people vote on it or anything like that.
Not
within
yet.
the dashboard, right?
We do want to add that, where like if there's not a broker on, like if your broker's not on the wait list, a way to request it. Right now we have to like manually keep that list of wait list brokers updated. But it'd be nice to have something automated so people can request it, and then it'll automatically show up. It just gets complicated because like our website and the UI requires like a logo and stuff. So there'd still need to be some kind of like manual review process for us to link it up and, you know, grab the logo in the right format and sync it up to our system.
Fair enough. Cool. All right. Before we go, I just wanted to touch on something that's just been on my mind quite a bit. As you guys have seen on Blueprint episodes, I'm all about that vibe coding life. Love that AI instead of the workflow system. And I almost convinced myself it was a little bit more of a, you know, there's a part of it that's too gimmicky until you end up inside of like the underground. I don't know if you guys have been seeing this, the Reddit threads, the sub 100,000 YouTube channels or whatever, doing unbelievable things with vibe coding. It really like upgrades people's ability. And so it's been fun. It's been interesting to use, but my God, can Cursor be expensive on the pocketbook? Their monthly fee only covers only so much vibe coding, and once you get beyond that, it can be pretty expensive. Cut to Claude Code. Claude has now become my absolute favorite coding model, creative model, and tool set for vibe coding. And you guys are going to see a lot more of this on Blueprint episodes to come. If you guys haven't used Claude Code before, think of it, if you use Cursor, and you better have used Cursor because I've talked about it for weeks, and if you're not doing that, like, get out of here. We only want people who are moving forward. We only want the elite of the elite traders. I'm kidding. I'm just obviously just joking here, but you definitely you don't want to be left behind. What's interesting with Claude, the reason I had Claude Code, the reason I had avoided it is that I thought it only works in the terminal. And I thought there was no IDE for it. But when you install Claude Code, or when you activate Claude Code within your project on Cursor, it adds an extension to Cursor or VS Code or whatever it is, and sort of like co-ops your interface. And now the terminal actually interacts with all your files and all that stuff in a very Cursor-like way, with one very important distinction. Flat fee, folks. A flat fee, either $100 a month for the max 5x or max 20x, $200 a month, and you're covered. I mean, there is technically a limit, but I mean, it's so high that people just generally don't reach it, and it really changes the game for vibe coding. John, you were saying that you had played around with Claude Code a little bit. Could I ask like what kind of thing you were doing, or are you just like poking around to see what the interface is like?
Just poking around. I haven't actually even built anything with it. I'm still only, and as I've just learned the other day, using outdated models in Cursor.
Well, I'm sold now on Claude 4, the Opus on Sonnet. Like, to me, I've tested it on different things, just qualitatively, on all the different projects. It's just so much better than Gemini 2.5 Pro. They just updated Gemini 2.5 Pro. We'll see what happens there. But it's just so good, so consistent. And the tool set that the Claude Code gives you, I find just to be just spectacular. And so you're able to the reason I'm bringing this up here for office hours is that I know there are people who, and we see them in the questions, there's all kinds of different like setups and conditions and ways they would want to interpret their data and send their data through, and they think that they don't necessarily understand they could create companion workflows that work with TradersPost, and Claude Code will these systems will send out signals to TradersPost in order to execute your trade after whatever conditions you have are met. And you can do way more things than just the chart, right? Because you could integrate with all kinds of different data sets and even pair that with the chart data in order to get really cool custom signals. So I just wanted to mention this. It's the I was you know what? Look, I was spending at least $100 a day on Cursor. I was going over the rate limits, and so it was just so painful. And so here, even though it's $100 and $200 a month, which I would have balked at before, now is like, of course I'll pay that. It's just so useful. I should mention we're not making any money from Anthropic or Claude. This is not an ad for them. This is legitimately something that I think is super useful. And I want traders to have all the tools necessary for their toolkit. And so this is something that I'm just suggesting a little bit for you guys to use. Hopefully you guys, Mike and John, you guys will... I can find specific use cases that you can spin up, and you'll also get your mind blown. Oh my God, where has this been my entire life? Because to say that I love these systems as much as I love my wife would be an understatement. Okay.
Well, I definitely need to get my environment closer to what you have set up there. So appreciate the tips here, Tom.
Fantastic. All right, so that will be it for office hours for today. We'll be back next Tuesday at 3 p.m., obviously with more feedback, questions, and feature requests. If you want to get your questions read on air, please feel free to send it to us through support system on Twitter, smoke signals, doves, carrier pigeons, whatever you need in order to get the signal to us. We're here to listen. We'll be here on Thursday with Blueprint, where we go through walkthroughs and tutorials about how to create automated trading strategies and bots and all kinds of fancy things. And of course, on Friday at 4 p.m. with Mike for market commentary. Markets go up, markets go down, and you need people there to dissect that, to translate what's going on. You don't have time to read all the news and figure out all the different things. That's what you need us for, and we love doing that. Until then, we wish you guys a happy trading. Goodbye.
See you, everyone.
Goodbye.